Buffy's about to encounter an evil with a familiar face.
Holy God, you're Willow.
Gotta say, not loving the new you.
Now, there are two Willows.
Get back, demon!
One of them has a passion for terror.
Wanna be bad?
An all-new Buffy.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James, once again coming to you from the afterlife.
Yeah, once again coming from the afterlife, and apparently Buzz City. I
can't hear it. I can't hear it. So
it is much better now than when we first connected. But I'm sure folks will hear it. So we'll just address the elephant in the room. For some reason, we had no problems last week. You're in the same location, the same setup. But this week, you're very echoey. And there is a weird, which we tried to fix prior to recording, but we couldn't get it resolved. But there's this weird kind of a buzzy hum sound, which I'm sure everyone will hear. We apologize in advance for that. Hopefully next week it will magically correct itself because neither one of us can figure it out.
Right.
So, with that being said, hi James, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. How was your week? Anything new? Anything fantastic?
Just apparently my audio issues.
Well, fuck it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Deal with it, people. Jesus.
Right. I mean, you get to look at all of this sexy on both of these screens at once. Come on.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to mention that I don't think people talk enough about how sexy we are.
Yeah, frankly, yeah. No one ever brings it up. They'll talk about that, we can be funny,
right.
But they never mention just how unbelievably gorgeous the pair of us are.
Right.
It's disconcerting.
It is disconcerting because I know we're sexy. You know we're sexy.
Right.
I mean, as you would say, let's address the elephant in the room, people.
Right. Come
Let's
on.
talk about how sexy we are.
Let's start getting a little bit more. I can't keep this up. Anyway, do we have anything from last week to talk about, Jane?
We do. We received an email, and so I want to apologize to everybody. I was called out for texting while doing the podcast last week. It's true, I was. I admitted it on the podcast.
Son of a bitch.
Briefly talked about it. So I do apologize. I have left my phone in a completely different room for recording this week, so it won't happen. I will say a big part of the reason it happened last week is because last week and this week we are recording. We did and are recording at on a different day and time than we usually text. Then we usually record. So that was part of the problem. But regardless, I do apologize to anybody that found that distracting. And I have left my phone.
What a lot of people don't know is that you and I are actually sexting back and forth while we're podcasting.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, my phone has been left in a completely different room.
So thank you guys. Now I don't get any dick pics while we're jeez. Lot.
Right. But mind you, everyone, that does not take away from the amount of dick pics he gets.
Right. Just on
a regular Wednesday. When I'm like, one of the times I rewatch the episode and I text him how chubbed up I am.
Right.
Because
he'll put like a little hat on it in some pictures. And
right.
Other pictures he'll draw a little face and
Right. Almost always I put out the sunglasses emoji on it.
Right.
So yeah, so there's that. We did get an email from Darlene discussing the episode. She agreed with a lot of the points you had made for the episode, Jeremy. She did say that she found herself connecting with Faith more in this episode, finally.
Finally that they gave her some time.
Right, or in last week's episode, so that's a plus. She did bring up that she felt or got the impression that Faith's turn to the dark side, my phraseology, not necessarily hers, was predicated by the possibility that throughout Faith's life, especially in her younger years, she was constantly told that she was bad, and the accidental killing of Deputy Mayor Allen, kind of was that turning point for her to possibly accept that everyone had always been right and she was bad, and so that's what she's going to do now. And I think that's a completely valid, viable presumption from of the goings on. It doesn't change the idea that I do wish leading up to this we had delved more into Faith and Faith's past and Faith's life and Faith's relationship with the Scoobies. I still feel like this was not an impactful turn as it could have been or should have been.
Yeah.
So, she did give us a rating. Unfortunately, I misplaced my notes. I took notes. Her email was a video response that she had sent, and I had taken some notes. But I misplaced the notes. So those are the highlight bullet points of her video to address. She gave it a rating. I don't remember what her rating was. Unfortunately,
over 9,000.
Over 9,000. Okay, wow. She really liked this episode.
Yeah, she also sent me a video, a separate video. She's my sister, obviously. And I'd like to thank her for that. It was very nice, very good video, and much love, sis.
So yeah, that's really everything from last week. As always, thank you, Darlene, and anybody else for engaging with us and interacting with us. Once again, we love it. We love to get the comments and the emails and the messages, with your thoughts about the episode or the podcast. And like I said last week, it really does, a lot of times it really does give us an opportunity to delve into the episode a little bit deeper, or in ways that we might not have when we were initially revisiting it. I told Darlene separately in a comment that her comment about not really caring about Faith, or that Faith had made or started to make that turn in Bad Girls, really did open my eyes to how I was revisiting the episodes, and how my foreknowledge of what's to come throughout everything has kind of been clouding my revisiting the episodes, and how I really should be more looking at them as a first-time viewer, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And taking it from that angle. I'm sorry. What did you say?
No, I just said I do that a lot myself. Catch myself, not watching it as a first-time viewer, And then I'm like, oh, I should really come at it from a different angle, as though, I'm seeing it for the first time, kind of thing. So,
right.
Oh, we all do that.
Right. I mean, unfortunately, it's the problem with going back and doing something like this on a show that's, close to 30 years old.
Right.
But that we've watched, numerous times, in its entirety. But anybody listening, don't ever discount, the impact that your comments or emails or messages are going to have on what we're doing here or how we approach what we're doing, because they do make a difference. I've definitely have found myself looking at the last few episodes through a different lens because of that realization.
Because without the comments and messages and stuff, we're just fumbling around in the dark,
sure,
doing what we think is interesting or funny or whatever, and if nobody comments or has a rapport with us, we don't know if what we're doing is cool or not, or worth people's time. So yeah, definitely.
100%. It's also made me more cautious of what I say in regards to the future of the show.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone.
Because there are definitely people. There are definitely people in our audience, I know for a fact, more than 3, that are watching all of these episodes for the very first time, and they know nothing about Buffy and Angel, what we've done, the 3.5 seasons we've done so far. So I try to be. I'll be like, well, later, never mind.
Right. So. Exactly. So that's all I have for last week. Do you have anything as it pertains to last week? Anything you want to say about Darlene's comments?
No. We kind of had a private little video type deal thing, and but like I said, it's very appreciated. And I hope she continues engaging with us, and and I hope more people do too. But if not, we can we'll take what we can get. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah. I 100% hope. I mean, she has by far been our most active engagement. Since
and
we
it's
started
nice
doing
to have,
this.
and it's nice to have not only a third opinion and take on everything, but it's nice to have a female opinion and take on everything. So
not only that, but also a first-time viewer opinion.
Right. First-time viewer, exactly. So
so 100%. I legitimately, this is no joke. This is not exaggeration. From once we post the episodes, once they drop on Monday morning, I am always looking for and looking forward to the comments, Darlene's comments, because at this point I know it's pretty much, we can pretty much guarantee that she's going to give us her, thoughts and interpretation, which is great. I look forward to that, and also any other comments that we get are always a pleasant surprise.
Definitely, because it makes us feel like we're not, whistling in the wind here.
Right. Something else I would like to address is the focusing and refocusing of my camera. I don't know why. I don't know why it's doing that.
I don't either. I've noticed that I haven't. Has it always done that?
It has not always done that. That is literally a problem that started last week.
Okay, I was going to say I've noticed it maybe the last couple of episodes, and I was like,
yeah,
something like cool he's doing to emphasize his points, but
right. I don't know why it's doing that. I messed around in the settings to see if I could figure it out. I have no idea why it's doing that. So I apologize for that. I've tried setting the video to full video feed to see if it'll stop it, and it resets itself. So I don't know why it's doing that. I apologize that it does it, but be aware that it is doing it.
A lot of YouTubers do that purposefully.
Right. Right.
And it's kind of a cool effect. So I would just go with it if I were you.
Right. I mean, it does seem to happen like when I am trying to emphasize a point.
Yeah, it's like, get on him, get up close.
Right. So I don't know why. It's definitely not. I'm not tech savvy enough with this sort of thing to be that deliberate about it.
Maybe it's AI and it's starting to
maybe. So I do apologize if it bothers anybody.
See, I don't watch the video of the show. I don't know a way of looking through. Like, I can look through all of the statistics and everything for the audio. But I don't know a way to discern who's watching. But I don't personally watch I prefer the audio because I can just put it in my phone in my pocket, throw the earbuds in, play it, and do my thing. And plus, I can't look at. We're so sexy. I can't watch that too long.
It's hard. It's hard to stare. It's like staring directly into the sun. You don't want to do it.
You're right. You don't want to do it for too long.
Right. So Monday morning when I log into work, I'll turn the podcast on to listen to it, the audio. And usually at some point between Monday and when we record the next, I will watch the video version on YouTube as well, just to see how it came together. So, but yeah, I don't know why the camera's doing that. My suspicion is because I did switch where I was recording, and my computer and monitor setup has changed. The camera location has changed. So my guess is it has something to do with that.
Who knows?
But I really don't know.
I want to go with AI and it's coming to life.
That's entirely possible. Well, I welcome our robot overlords.
That's right.
But anyway, if we don't have anything else, how about if I serve you up some tasty dates and deets?
Are they going to be moist?
They will be crispy on the outside, tender and juicy on the inside.
Okay, let's fucking do it.
Moist if you prefer. I'm going to cook them up in my new air fryer. I got an air fryer for the new place. So I'm going to cook them up in my new air fryer for you.
All right. Dude, I am so down.
Do you like Mexican street corn, elotes?
Oh, you're talking about like grilled or?
No, it's.
I'm very uncultured.
Okay, never mind then. I'm gonna put some Mexican street corn seasoning on them.
Okay. I'm down with anything new.
In the air fryer for you.
Okay.
As previously stated, we will be revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 3, Episode 16, our 50th episode of the series overall, Doppelgängland. Our episode director this week is, ooh, ouch, he who shall not be named, Joss Whedon.
Oh.
Our episode credited writer this week is also he who shall not be named, Joss Whedon. Our original air date was February 23rd, 1999 on the now defunct WB network. We pulled in a Nielsen rating of 4.4 million households when it first aired, ranking it 84th out of the 121 network primetime shows for the week and second out of the 15 shows airing on the WB for that week. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest cast this week includes Eliza Dushku as Faith, Harry Groner as Mayor Richard Wilkins, Alexis Denisoff as Wesley Wyndham Price, Emma Caulfield making a return as Anya, or Anyanka, whichever you prefer. Ethan Erickson as Percy West. Armin Shimmerman making his long-awaited return as Principal Snyder. Jason Hall as Devin. Michael Nagy as Alphonse. Andy Umberger as DeHoffren. And Megan Gray as Sandy.
Some Harry Groner.
He's a fine character actor.
Oh, I legitimately love it. He's great.
He's been in so many things.
Yeah.
Little side quest here, as you know, and the listeners may know because I've talked about it before. Pretty much every Saturday morning, we go to see a movie with some friends and I. We go to breakfast and then we go see a movie. One of the trailers we've been consistently seeing for weeks on weeks now is the new Christopher Nolan movie Oppenheimer. Okay. It's a biopic about Oppenheimer and the creation of the nuclear bomb. And every time we see the trailer, I see a new cast member in it and I'm like, this cast is stacked. And this past week, I saw Mr. Harry Groner in the cast in the trailer, so that was a little exciting. But yeah, the guy's a phenomenal character actor. He's been in tons of stuff. So anyway, my episode synopsis this week reads. Where did it go? There it is. Oh shit. I lost it. I'm sorry. Hold on. 1 second.
That's all right. I'll give mine while you're getting yours.
Yes, you do yours.
Mine reads, while casting a magic spell, Anya and Willow accidentally summon Willow's evil double from an alternate universe. Which I think is pretty fucking accurate. Plus, this is obviously the callback to what was the name of the episode?
The Wish.
Yeah, The Wish. Anya's other episode. And it's that version of Willow, the evil vampire, leather-laced Willow.
Yes. My synopsis reads, a vampire Willow from an alternate universe wreaks havoc and confusion in Sunnydale. Buffy trains to beat out Faith on the Watchers Council tests. Which was such a minor part of this episode. I'm like, why are we even bringing that up in our synopsis? But it was. All right. So we open, and I do think it bears mentioning this week that we open with essentially two previously on this week. Our first one is the recap of Faith accidentally killing Deputy Mayor Allen. And then our second one is a recap of the events of The Wish, in which we were introduced to Anya/Anyanka and the alternate Wish realm that she had taken Cordelia to, which is where we were first introduced to the vampire versions of Xander and Willow.
Which, by the way, Cordelia was immediately dispatched in that universe.
Yes.
And it was supposed to be a Cordelia episode, but she was just immediately killed.
Right. We, in fact, we talked about it extensively during that episode, where a lot of people say it's a Cordelia episode. It's not. It is very much a Buffy-centric episode. It is not a Cordelia.
Because she is axed immediately.
Right. So we open with Anya begging a demon to give her powers of the Wish back. This is DeHoffren. Since her power center, the amulet that she wore was destroyed by Buffy and the gang, she's condemned to live the rest of her life as a mortal. She's complaining about being in 12th grade and living in Sunnydale and going to Sunnydale High, and she says she's also flunking math. So she wants to Hoffman to fold the fabric of time so she can go back and prevent the amulet from being destroyed. And he refuses. He says she's going to have to live out the rest of her life as a mortal. And she says, well, if he won't help her, then she'll find someone that will. And we cut to the quad at Sunnydale High, and we see that Willow is making a pencil float. And she's saying it's all about emotional control and some magic. And Buffy's doing sit-ups, kind of training for some sort of test that the Watchers Council are administering to her and Faith, and she wants to do better than Faith. And they start talking about Faith, and Buffy kind of defends Faith's previous actions, and well, I was going to say something, but I'll wait till we finish the cold open. And she says that given different circumstances, it could be her in Faith's shoes. And Willow disagrees, and she believes that certain people just have that in them. And of course, she's referring to, I would presume, a touch of darkness, a little bit of evil, deep down in them. And Buffy apologizes to Willow and says, she knows she doesn't really like talking about Faith, and Willow insists that it's okay, and she doesn't mind. And we cut back. Buffy draws our attention back to the pencil, which is now spinning completely wildly out of control, and shoots off and embeds itself into a tree. And Buffy says something, remarks about emotional control, right? And and Willow says, "Well, I'm working on it." And that is the end of our cold open.
It would have been great if the Asian guy popped up from YouTube and said, "Emotional." What'd you say?
Emotional damage.
Damage. Yeah, that would have been great.
Did you find this cold open? I found Willow a little bit annoying.
Really?
In this cold open, yes. B, why are they so cavalierly talking about how Faith murdered someone?
I will say what I said last week. Why are they even focusing on that at all? Like, why does that even matter? It was an accident. Who gives a fuck about Deputy Mayor Dildo? And, I know we disagree on this, but I'm just saying, like, let it fucking go. It's over. It's done with. I don't know. But, yeah, why are they sitting out in front of
not even the fact that they're in front of the school, but, like, and I will say, part of my heart knows the answer, and it's because Joss Whedon wrote this episode. But it is such a joke heavy. The way they're talking about it, like when I say cavalier, I mean like they're just talking about it in such a manner that it seems like a big joke to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't I don't know. I didn't get that impression personally.
No?
But I can see what you're saying. If you got that impression, yeah.
So Buffy saying, I realize Faith's not going to make the cover of Sanity Fair.
Well, yeah.
I mean, come on.
I think it's a little bit more about Faith herself and her own.
I get that, but I don't know. Like, to me, like, the situation, I don't know. The situation and this particular conversation around it, it was too heavy with the Joss witticisms and
He does it a lot.
And joking around. I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. But that's me. That's my opinion. So, and then we cut to Snyder's office, and I'll take this first scene. And he's talking to Willow and Percy West, who is on the baseball team, from what I gathered. Basketball? Okay.
He's the point guard.
Point guard, yes. That's the part I missed. And he's saying that they're the perfect marriage of brain and fast break. And again, this bothered me. Like, Willow's not getting, like, she's not understanding, like, what Snyder is trying to say. And she says to Snyder, "You want us to breed?"
Yeah, I was like, wow.
I was like, what? So here, I'm just going to say this right now. I got the impression watching this episode up to a certain point that Joss has lost sight of how to write for his characters.
Yeah, I think it's been too long. You know, he takes too many big like breaks, you know, like he wants to come in and write, I guess, when he feels like it. I don't know.
Sure. Or like when he's got an idea for an episode, you know, those are the episodes he wants to write. And I'm not saying like he's not involved in the writer's room or scripts or anything that's going on. But I just, Willow, especially in this episode, I just really felt like Joss didn't have a handle on who the character has developed into.
Yeah, he's still playing her like first season Willow.
Right.
And yeah, I see that.
And the fact of the matter is, Snyder tells her that he wants her to tutor Percy in history so that he'll pass the upcoming history exam and be able to stay on the basketball team. She
brings up the swimming team. Remember that?
Right. You know? He says we don't want an incident like we had last year with the swim team.
Right.
Harkening back to Go Fish, I believe was the name of the episode, when the members of the swim team were turning into giant fish monsters.
Fish monster, yeah.
Incidentally, an episode where we saw probably, I pointed out at the time, even though it was a small scene, a huge amount of character development for Cordelia.
Oh yeah, massive.
Who unfortunately, as I've pointed out for this season, we've seen completely regress.
Totally regressed, yeah.
But anyway, Willow tries to tell Snyder that she's got, you know, too much of her own work to do, and he insists that she wants to help Percy and the school. And then we cut to Buffy and Willow heading into the library and what's going on with that.
Really quick, though, about that scene. He's talking up this kid. You know, he's this big, important basketball player for the team and stuff, and he's their point guard and whatnot. And he's like, and this kid is 50% behind the 3-point line. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a good stat. I don't know who wrote that. I guess Joss Whedon did, and he knows fuck all about sports probably, because that's a horrible stat. I mean, I know he's a high school kid, but so you're telling me if he shoots from behind the 3 10 times, he's only hitting at 5? I'm telling him to stop shooting the fucking 3 at that point. But yeah, he talks that up like that's a huge stat. Like he's 50% behind the 3-point. I'm like, fuck, a blind man could be 50% behind the 3-point line. Fuck me.
A broken clock's right twice a day.
Exactly. So yeah, that's just probably an example of Joss Whedon knowing fuck all about anything manly at all. Where did we leave off? Okay. We cut to a really... Wait, where'd you leave us off at?
Buffy and Willow going into the library.
I don't have that.
You don't have that?
How did I miss that? Oh, okay. Yes, I do have it. I'm sorry. I have it melded together with this. I do have it.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, Buffy and Will go into the library and yeah, because how is that said? She's okay. They walk in. Damn it! I don't have it written down. Like,
I think I know where you're going to, and I'll cover it. So they walk in, and Willow's bitching to Buffy about Snyder, and so Buffy asks Willow, she's like, so he threatened you? And she's like, well, not really in words, but it was in his eyes, and there was a nostril thing. And then she's like, I just hate how he assumes that everyone's time is his. And literally as she finishes saying that, Giles comes out of his office, and he's like, Willow, get on the computer and take another crack at accessing the mayor's files. And yeah. Willow's like, okay.
Yeah, you just immediately like, okay. So then Faith and Wesley come in, and Wes is he's out of breath. He's a hurting. He's hurting for certain. He's been taking Faith through the we never get specifics, some type of obstacle course, timing her and whatnot. And he's talking about, that you did a very good job, but he's completely fucking out of breath and just, smoked. And so Giles says, would you like me to take Buffy and take her through the course? And Wes is like, no, I'll be okay. I need to catch my breath. And immediately, like, to me, there should have been a sign immediately, because Faith is being really cool and really nice.
Right.
And she's all like, hey, good luck, B. And, she's just being really nice. And it's like, right. That would off-put me immediately. I'd be like, are you okay? Are you off your meds?
Right.
And so, Buffy's like, well, I got to go change. And then, so everybody kind of leaves, and Faith sits up on the counter there watching Willow doing her improbable hacking. And she's like, so what are you doing? And, Willow tells her, trying to get into the mayor's files. And as we know, Faith is now the mayor's secret employee. So she's like, oh, are you doing it? Are you able to get in? And she's like, well, not yet. He's got a lot of, security and little traps here and there. And she's like, well, will you be able to? And she's like, eventually I will get in. And then we cut to Faith and the mayor in this really dope apartment. Like a super cool apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a redress of the Angel's old apartment set. I rewound it a few times to look, and it looks like a redress, but it's super cool.
You think they just added the window with the view out onto Sunnydale? I think they
threw that fake window in, and I think they put a couple of partitions up to make it look like it's larger, with the rooms and whatnot. But I think it's just a redress. But it's definitely cool. It's all furnished, and it's like it's a high end apartment. And she's like, "What? Wow, this is really mine?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I won't have any Slayer of mine living in that, that dump she's been living in." He's like, "Keep that place in case you have to meet, the Scoobies there or whatever to, keep them not knowing. He's like, but yeah, this is your home now, and blah blah blah. And she goes up and she's all like, ooh, I like having a sugar daddy. And he's like, now, Faith, I don't believe in that kind of thing. I'm a family man. And then he's like, now, let's get to killing your friend. And she's like, oh, shit. And he's like, no, I wouldn't ask you to do that. He's like, but, we're going to need to bump her off. Talking about Willow because she's trying to hack into his shit.
Right, yeah.
Why doesn't he, what he should do is just be like, hey, I'm going to let's just take everything off the system and off the network that's even remotely incriminating,
right?
And then just let her get in and see, and then, but no, he goes, let's just kill her.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay. He's like, no, I'll get some people to handle that. And
right, he says a vampire attack would look more convincing.
Right, because it wouldn't look convincing, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes, well, let's continue looking at this new apartment. He's like, because somebody, I think, has a new PlayStation. And she's like, no way. And he's like, and of course he goes, yes way. And so, yeah, she's pretty happy.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah.
You think Mayor Wilkins did?
No. Mayor Wilkins has a stick so far up his ass, it's into his brain cavity. I mean, yeah.
This dude is. This is gonna sound so weird, but he is the most wholesome evil.
He is, and that's what makes his character, I think, fucking funny and interesting.
Something I did forget to mention about last week's episode is in her comments and her review, Darlene did say that Mayor Wilkins reminds her of a Will Ferrell character.
Yeah.
And
Brothers or something, yeah.
And I accept that interpretation, but also I'm not a big Will Ferrell fan, so.
Oh God, I'm the biggest. Oh God, I love Will Ferrell. I'll let you live. This time,
like you could end my life.
I'm coming through. You don't understand what I can do with. Do you see what I'm doing with your audio right now?
No, I won't hear it until the episode is dropped.
Yeah.
Everything sounds fine to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Where did I leave? Oh yeah. So we cut back to school, and Oz and Willow meet up, and he says he just got back in late or got in. She hadn't heard from him the night before, and he's like, "Well, we got in really late." And she's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, we had a show." In I didn't write down where, some other town, and
Monterey.
She's like,
Monterey.
Hey, excuse me, Monterey man. And she says, "Well, why didn't you invite me? Don't you think I would have wanted to go?" And he's like, "Well, I don't think you would have skipped school." And she's like, "Oh, fair enough." Yeah, then they run in. Willow sees they separate, and she goes to runs into Percy. Percy, the dude. What a douchey name to give to this kid. Hey, Percy. So, and she's talking to him. She's wanting to talk to him about the tutoring and when they should meet up and all that. And he's like, no. We're not going to do any of that. He's like, you're just going to do my you're just going to do my stuff for me, my papers and my homework and all that. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, because that's what Principal Snyder wants. And
yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? Snyder said you're going to do it for me. And she's like, that's not what he said.
Yeah.
And he's like, what meeting were you in?
Yeah. And he's like, because she brings up, she's like, well, I think she says lunch. Let's meet at lunch or something like that. And he's like, no, I don't have any time then. I got to hang out. And I was like, yeah. You don't have any time because you have to hang out? What the fuck? So, so she's sitting down. She's aggravated. She pulls out a banana from her backpack and she's like, you know what? I'm going to eat this banana right now. It's not lunchtime, but I'm going to fucking eat this banana anyway. Because that's pretty rebellious for Willow. About that time, Buffy and Xander come out, and they see her, and they come up to her, and like Buffy's like, "Hey, did you record God, what was it? Like Dateline NBC or something? Biography." They're like, "Did you record that?" And she's like, "Yeah." Like, "See, I told you, Old Faithful." And she doesn't like that. She's like, "What the fuck, Old Faithful? That's not sexy. Fucking what? What the hell?" And there's some back and forth there. It's nothing earth shattering. And so she's just aggravated. Everybody's using her. She feels, her nickname is Old Reliable, and she's just not feeling it. And so she goes to storm away, and Buffy's like, "Hey, Willow, I'm sorry." And she runs up to her and she's like, "Buffy, I'm trying to storm away. It doesn't work if you follow me." It's like, okay. So and as she turns and walks away, she tosses a Molotov over her shoulder, and it just engulfs Buffy in fire.
Right, and you're like, where the fuck did that come from?
Right, I saw she had a banana, but a Molotov? I mean,
right.
Wow.
What?
But she wanted to let them know she was pissed.
Yeah. She does. She goes on this big Willow type tirade about how maybe I'll change my look, or maybe I'll ditch class. You don't know.
Yeah, she actually does say all that. I forgot. Yeah. And so as Buffy is burning to death and screaming in agony, we cut to Anya finding Willow as Willow gets back into the school. And basically she's asking for her help. And Willow's like, "Oh, fuck, somebody, everybody always comes to me for the, tutoring or do my homework for me kind of shit." And she's like, "Well, I had heard you were a really good Wicca, and I need somebody to help me with a spell." And that immediately gets Willow's cockles flared up, and she's like, "Oh, magic?" And she's like, "Is it dark magic? I like dark magic." She's like, it's and I'm like, whoa, slow down, Will.
Willow perks up like a kid on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
She's so down to do some dark magic.
Yeah, and so she explains how does she say that how does she tell her? Does she tell her at this point that she just needs to do this? It's like little small folding and the fabric of time a little bit, and I'm looking for something I lost.
Yeah, well, I don't think she tells her then that it's something she lost, but she tells her she needs a second to help her open a temporal fold.
That's it. Because it's you have to have two people to do this.
Right.
One person can't do it. And so we cut to them in this little, well, it's a classroom, but it's abandoned or empty, whatever, abandoned, who the fuck knows. And Anya's kind of explaining the mechanics of it, and I guess they had already discussed it off camera. Willow kind of knows what's up, and what they're going to do is offer a plea to a higher deity and pour some sand over the representation of this necklace that she has lost, which, as we know, it's the one she lost in Wish that had her powers. And in hopes that it'll create a temporal fold and her necklace will appear there, thus making her Anyanka again, and she'll be happy. So they start chanting their spell, in Latin and whatnot, and they're doing everything. And as they, oh, excuse me, sorry. As they grab hands, Willow starts seeing flashes of where it is that this necklace is at, which is in this alternate universe from The Wish. And she's seeing flashes of all that crazy shit that happened in that episode. And so at the last minute, she puts her hand in the way of the sand and blocks a lot of it from landing on the drawing of this necklace, thus fucking the spell up. And she's like, "What the fuck was that?" And she's like, "What was that? Some kind of hell dimension?" And Anya's like, "No, it's just I need to blah blah blah." And Willow's like, "Fuck this! I don't want anything to do with this shit." And so Anya's like, "Fine, fuck you, basically, eat shit and die." And Willow just pulls a 45 out and plugs one right in her fucking forehead. And she's like, I'm done being talked to like this. And she just murders Anya right there in that empty classroom. And then she picks up the little chicken foot that she had brought for her part of the spell and sticks it in her nostril as she's laying there dead. And she's like, what now, bitch? Kicks her in the ribs and then leaves. It was hardcore, dude. It was hardcore. No, so yeah, she's just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. And Anya's, obviously super fucking pissed off because she can't do this alone. It literally has to have another. But I'm like, we know that there are multiple witches and warlocks there, in not just in Sunnydale, but in the high school.
Right. Go hit up Amy.
Right. Well, she is a rat, but
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, but not the boy, not that one boy warlock.
Yeah.
Who's been trying to help Willow, bring Amy back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I guess what I'm saying is like Anya's freaking out, like, well, if Willow's the only other witch on the whole planet, so if she won't do it, I guess I'm just screwed.
Right.
But
we should point out that Willow doesn't deliberately fuck up the spell.
I took it that she did.
No, her hands are shaking because of what she's seeing. Her hands start to shake uncontrollably, and she spills the sand on her hand.
Okay. I took it as she's seeing all this shit because when it didn't happen, she was like, yeah, we're done. And I don't know. I just took it as this hell dimension that she's thinking she's seeing freaked her the fuck out. So she just threw her hand and broke the stream of sand to fuck the spell up. But, either way it works.
Right.
But the last little flash we saw when she was seeing, the other dimension was her vampire self, who was just about to be grabbed by that version's Oz and thrown into that board and killed. Mm-hmm. And so as they're replaying that and he's grabbing at her, this time that Willow disappears. And elsewhere, after her and Anya are done arguing, we see Vampire Willow kind of in like an abandoned warehouse, I'm guessing. And she just kind of raises up and she's just like, where the fuck am I at? And then a clown comes in playing a fucking kazoo. And he's like, welcome to Sunnydale. Welcome. No, but we cut to a commercial and we're like, oh, Vampire Willow is now in our Sunnydale. And you're just like, what? So we come back from what would have been a commercial. And Vampire Willow is just kind of, I'll bring it up as I discuss it. I don't know if this is something you wanted to talk about after the episode, but this is recreated from The Wish. It is actually shot for shot of when Cordelia is first walking through that version of Sunnydale. Now Vampire Willow is walking through our version of Sunnydale, and they do it shot for shot.
Right. But
she's seeing, just people and happiness and, normalcy. And she's just like, what in the fuck is going on? And this little old woman walks up to her and she's like, excuse me, miss. And she does the vampire growl thing at her. And she's like, oh, it was funny when she goes, oh, just kind of scurries away. And Vampire Willow comes into the bronze, which if you remember from The Wish, the bronze was basically the vampires' stomping grounds in The Wish, where they kept all their human food and
it was essentially the master's lair.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was, and they had Angel locked up back there too.
Yep.
But anyway, she walks in there, and it's our normal bronze, and there's music and the kids and yada yada.
Yes, which we haven't had one in a while. Our bronze band this week was Kay's Choice performing Virgin State of Mind from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the album, released by TVT Records in 1999.
The lyrics to that song were some of the most ridiculous.
We're not going to discuss the Buffy the Vampire Slayer soundtrack because I love it. I love every song on it. I listen to it at least once a week. and you hate it. You hate every song on it. You curse its existence.
I don't curse its existence. I don't curse its existence because it's music, and I'm a music fanatic. But it is dumb. Anyway, so she comes in, and is this the part where we see Anya? Is Anya at the bar in this scene? Because I don't think I wrote it.
No, not yet.
It's very important that I want to bring that up. Okay, yeah, you're right. I just found it. Okay, because I want to talk about that.
Right.
Anyway,
we are going to talk about it.
Oh, yes, we fucking are.
So you know what else we're going to talk about? Spoiler alert, that pastry case.
Right. So she's walking around just kind of surprised, like, what the fuck? Well, Percy comes up to her, because obviously Percy thinks it's Willow. And he's talking about, hey, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be doing my homework and blah, 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 blah. At which point she houses him. And she's like, bored now. And wham, hits him, knocks him 700 feet into the air. He lands again, and she picks him up, and she's got him. She's just kind of manhandling him. She's getting ready to kill him. And Xander comes in, and he's like, he just sees a dude and Willow like in a physical thing. So he runs up and grabs Percy and throws him. He's like, get the hell away from her. And Percy's already freaked out. He's like, no problem. And Percy books it out of there.
Before you go on, I don't know about you, but bored now is probably my single most quoted Buffy the Vampire Slayer quote.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because this is probably my single most favorite character is evil vampire Willow.
I say it all the time.
Yeah. I warned you last week. I said, warning, I love next week's episode because I love evil vampire Willow. And I can't get enough of her. So, Xander's like, hey, Will, wow, you really did change up the look. He's like, kind of extreme, don't you think? And about that time, Buffy comes in, and of course she heads straight to those two, and she's kind of has the same reaction, like, what? Because, evil vampire Willow's in, leather and lace, and
yeah, she's wearing,
she's got a bunch of makeup on, and
yeah, let's set the scene here for people. She's wearing tight leather pants,
yeah,
high heel boot
things, yeah,
a extremely tightly cinched leather corset,
yeah, with
red lace frills on the bustier, yeah. And of course she's all, decked out makeup wise.
Yeah, she's got the blood red lipstick. Yeah, and she's even more pale than normal Willow is.
Right.
So it's a very kind of striking look.
New kink unlocked.
Right. Anyway, so they're trying. So Buff and Xander are trying to talk to her and stuff, and she's basically just turns around to leave, and without really, she's just like, okay, I'm done now. She turns around to leave, and Buffy's like, wait, and she kind of grabs her by the arm, and fucking Willow turns and goes full vamp face and goes, let go of me, and then pulls out of her grasp and leaves, and of course Xander and Buffy are like, what the fuck? And then as Willow's leaving, she goes, that's right, and she has a fucking little top hat, and she just moonwalks out. But they're just, they're heartbroken, everything all at once in their face. And
it adds to it too, because when Buffy is first talking to Vamp Willow looks at her and is like,
she goes, I don't like you.
Right. She's like, it's you. And then she's like, I don't like you. And then that's when she turns to try and leave. And Buffy initially grabs her to try and apologize for what happened earlier.
Yeah.
So
as Willow leaves the bronze, she's walking down the well-known dark alley, and two people step into the frame behind her, and they're like, Willow Rosenberg, and she turns around and they attack. They're two vampires. They attack. She cleans both of their clocks. I mean, I don't think either one of them got a single offensive maneuver into this fray. They just got housed. And she pretty much KOs one of them, and then she has another one on his face, and she has his arm pulled up. She's like, fucking wrenching on his arm, and she's like, who do you work for? And he's like, I'm not telling you anything. So she grabs one of his fingers and fucking snaps it, and that's all it takes. Because she goes, who are you working for? He's like, Mayor Wilkins. And I'm like, wow, that's somebody go through torture training, did they? And she smiles, she's happy, and then she just reaches and she's like, she asks him again, she's like, who do you work for? And Mayor Wilkins. She snaps his finger. Who do you work for? And he's like, you. And then she smiles and she's like, that's right, bitch. And then she makes him put on a leather mask for some reason. I didn't know what that meant, and it had a zipper on the mouth. But yeah,
they're called GIMP masks.
Oh,
okay.
For the
record.
Okay. So the other one's coming around about that time, and they both get up, and so yeah, they're now working for her, and she says, "Get all your friends together. Basically, we're gonna play." And they're like, "Ooh, what are we gonna play?" But then the other one has to unzip its mask, and it's awkward.
Well, she tells them that they're gonna.
She basically wants to turn Sunnydale into the one she remembers.
Yeah, she says they're gonna take over the bronze and make it the way she remembers.
Right. So Buffy and Xander are back at the library. And they've explained it to Giles what's happened, and they're all kind of sitting on the steps there, dumbfounded, heartbroken, shocked, every emotion you can think of, because Willow's dead. To become a vampire, you're killed. In this world, I don't think we've explained this before to people. And I think maybe now would be a good time to do it, because they're going to talk about it a little bit in a couple of scenes. But in the Buffyverse, when you become a vampire, your soul and everything of who you are is basically gone, replaced by the soul and the psyche and everything of the demon vampire who comes into your body. So yeah, they will retain your memories and things of that nature, but that's why when you become a vampire in this world, you're completely different, basically. And so as far as they're concerned, Willow's dead, because now it's just a demon wearing Willow's skin suit, more or less. And so they're all just fucking, they're just, I mean, imagine that, it's Willow, for Christ's sake. And God, I love this part. I love this part so much. I want to put it on repeat. Giles takes his glasses off and kind of wiping at his eyes, and he says, she was the very best of us. And Xander says, yeah, she was better than me. And
which isn't a high bar.
Yeah, Giles goes, yes, much, much better. I was like, God, I love that. And about that time, Willow walks in. The real Willow. In her pink, fuzzy sweater and everything. And she's like, hey. And Xander jumps up immediately. Where did he pull this cross out of? Because he instantly... Yeah, he instantly has a cross in his hand. I'm like, did he have that in his ass or I don't know. But he holds it up to her and he's like, back, you demon. And she's just standing there looking at it like, what?
And then this is hilarious. He fucking shakes the cross.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with it.
Cross juice on her, And they kind of have a little back and forth, and she's like, have you guys been using drugs? And they understand now that this is the real Willow. She's not dead. She's not a vampire. But they have no explanation for what the fuck they saw in the bronze. And they're all kind of in the dark. And so, yeah, they're just like, the fuck? I want to take this this next scene, and then I'm going to pass it off to you.
Well, hold on. So they obviously, Buffy and Xander, like, they hug Willow.
Yeah.
You know, they're like so happy she's alive. And she finally gets them to stop hugging her. And this is before they explain everything. And she starts to ask Giles, like, Giles, what's wrong? And out of nowhere, Giles just latches onto Willow with this big ass hug.
Yeah, he just running up to her.
Well, I just got a huge kick out of that. I thought it was hysterical.
Oh yeah, that just shows how much Giles loves Willow. I've always said, and I've always believed, that of all the Scoobies, Giles loves obviously Buffy the most. But I've always said he has a special place for Willow. Like, I think Willow's is clear number 2.
Oh, like, yeah.
He would quickly give his life for Willow. Not so sure about Xander. Anyway, we cut to the bronze, and Anya is sitting at the bar in the bronze and attempting to order a beer. And said bartender wants her ID. And they get into an argument back and forth. She says, I'm 1,120 years old. Give me a beer. And he just says, ID. She's like, fine, give me a soda. And so, pause. Time. We now have our answer.
Yeah,
the bronze is an illegal club. It's highly illegal.
I was 100% going to point this out. We now have our first verified evidence, confirmation that the bronze serves alcohol.
And is somewhat of a speakeasy. No one under 21 would be allowed in this place. Like, this is ridiculous. Especially under 18 high school kids.
Right.
So, problematic. I don't know where we can go with this other than to say who decided that this place should serve alcohol, because that's never been a thing before.
We've never had confirmation like this before.
So you're telling me
we did see in Band Candy at the bronze. Remember, they were pouring shots right into their mouths. The adults.
I thought that was liquor that they had brought.
I think when we revisited the episode, we brushed it off as like, well, maybe they brought the liquor themselves to the bronze.
Because here's another thing that I would ask. Another question: what 21 or over person would want to come to this fucking club? Like, and hang out with a bunch of literal under 18 high school kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, why would they even serve alcohol? What would be the point?
Right.
So I don't know. Weird decision making.
It would be interesting to know what the laws in California are about that sort of thing.
Yeah, I could see I can see it being an 18 and over club, because you get a stamp on your hand, which means you couldn't have alcohol. They have those. Right. But these are under 18 children who are and I don't think any state, because I think that's now a federal thing, an all-encompassing federal thing. I don't think any state you can have a place like that,
So, right. It would also be interesting to know what is the bronze categorized as business-wise. Because, just for shits and giggles, let's take Applebee's. You can be under 18 and go into an Applebee's where they serve alcohol.
Yeah, but you can't be at the bar.
Well, right.
and that's a restaurant.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So
whereas I don't think the Bronze would be even remotely
we wouldn't
licensed
consider
as a restaurant. I mean, they serve cornbread and fucking raisins, so I don't think that would qualify you as a restaurant.
Well, that's what we're saying, but who knows what their business license says?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, like I said, it could easily be an 18 and over club. I get that. You could be stamped and all that because those are everywhere. But there's no way under 18. Nah, I'm not buying it. But I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know.
Well, which is what leads me to believe that the Bronze may be, whether it's illegally or incorrectly, licensed as a restaurant as opposed to like a bar.
And maybe the Bronze is just straight up doesn't care. Well, they do, obviously, because he's carding this girl, so he's carding Anya, so they are following those laws. So who the fuck knows? All I know is weird decision making. Like why was it important? Because as far as I know, there are no other episodes that ever take place at the Bronze where liquor is involved. So why did that need to? Why couldn't they have just put Anya in an actual bar trying to order a beer, and they like kick her out, and she goes to the bar and has a Coke.
Well, because then we would need a whole nother set.
That's true, but God, I hate little things like this. They annoy me so much. Anyway,
this didn't annoy me. I literally was like, all right, here's our first confirmation that the Bronze does serve alcohol. And then my follow-up to that was they must be licensed as a restaurant. That's the only way they're getting away with this. Because like you said, 18 and over clubs, yeah. Like when I was 21, I was 22, maybe 23, friends and I went to a local place that it turned out was an 18 and over club. We didn't realize it when we went. But yeah, we got in, we had to get our hands stamped to show that we were over 21 so that we could get drinks.
Right.
And this is the last time we ever went to that place. Because even being in a place with like under 21 people, like people under the age of 21 at that point, and yeah, we were only like 22, 23, but we were like, this is kind of weird. Like this feels a little weird.
Fair. They're like, yeah, because most of these kids are like, either like still in high school or just got out of high school, and what the fuck do I have in common with any of these little shits? And yeah, but I don't know. Do us a favor, James, for next week. Do a little digging on California laws and see how that works. Because I have a huge problem with this. I just don't think that it's possible. Because we have seen zero evidence that the Bronze is a restaurant. We've seen a pastry case. Like I said, that they'll sell stale cornbread muffins and raisins out of, but having a kitchen, because you have to meet certain requirements to be considered to be licensed as a restaurant.
Oh, sure.
And I just don't. There's been nothing to show us that the Bronze is anywhere remotely near consideration for a restaurant. At best, they'd be a convenience store, selling like fucking devil dogs and fucking raisins, so I don't know. Anyway, so she takes her Coke and then we cut up to the stage area where the band would be, and Oz is up there and he's chit-chatting with what's his name? What's the singer? Devin, yeah. They're talking and it's kind of a funny conversation. Devin says something about we should be doing bigger shows or something like that. And Oz goes, well, yeah, but most bands know more than 6 chords and blah, blah, blah.
Devin says we should have a roadie.
That's it. We should have a roadie. Yeah.
And that's when Oz is like, well, other bands have roadies because they can play up to 6, sometimes even 7 completely different chords.
Yeah. Which we've never seen any confirmation of that, because whenever they're playing, they seem like a very good professional band.
Right.
So it's strange. But then Pop who pops up next to Oz there, James? What? Huh? What the hell? It's this shit again, man. I don't know where this. I don't know. Very disconcerting. But it's Angel.
It's Angel. And I'm going to stop you right here because I normally don't do this. But when I was looking up stuff for this episode, and it's kind of why I pointed out that Devin is complaining about not having a roadie. There's a cut scene. There was a brief exchange cut from this scene.
Oh, okay.
Where Devin says to Angel, "Hey man, do you want to be our roadie?" Or he says, "Hey man, do you think you would want to be our roadie?" And Angel says, "Less than you think I would."
See, I thought he would have said something like, "Oh, I did that back in the '60s for the Who or something," and
No. But we normally don't discuss like cutscenes, but I read that and I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
Well, that should have been that's definitely one that should have been left in.
Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, Angel shows up and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" to Oz, and he's like, "Looking for Buffy," and as always, and he's like, "Well, she hasn't shown so far." And around that time, who walks in, James? I'll let you take it from here.
A bunch of vampires.
Yeah.
With Vampire Willow at the lead.
And they have they're all holding pitchforks that are on fire. They're not. They weren't?
No.
Oh, my bad.
And they essentially take the entire Browns hostage. Well, so a group of like 8 or 10 vampires walk in, and the lead vampire says, if everyone's
the one that she had beaten up and broke his fingers,
right? He's like, if everyone stays calm and this and that, no one will get hurt, yada yada.
Well, he says if everyone stays calm and no one tries to leave, no one will get hurt. And I'm like, you're vampires, you're going to eat them anyway.
Right.
So go for it. Try to leave.
So then, and I love this exchange between between Angel and Oz, and it almost made me wish that I can't say it without spoiling things. It almost made me wish that certain characters that didn't make it to the spinoff had made it to the spinoff.
Yes, I know. That was probably always one of my biggest complaints about Angel. Was there were there were two huge mistakes in Angel, 2 of them, and one of them is exactly what you're referring to, and the other one was the death of a certain, I think, fantastic character.
So is Angel says to Oz, "Why don't I believe him?" And Oz says, "Well, he lacks." Oh fuck! What does he say exactly?
So he does lack credibility.
Right, he does lack credibility. I'm like these two together, like Angel's stoicism and Oz's like
just
deadpan sarcasm.
Yep.
It works so, and this scene is just a perfect highlight of it. It works so well together, and like literally that brief. It's so brief, in this whole scene. I was like, why didn't Oz make it to the spinoff?
Right.
Like he should have been part of that main cast.
I was so shitty about that. And then when they did bring him in a few seasons later, it was so good.
Right.
And I was like, he should have been a part from... Anyway.
Right. So then, Angel's like, the skylight over there, I can probably make it. And
to go get back up.
Right. And Oz is like, we're gonna need backup, and Angel's like, but then Angel's like, I kind of think I might be needed here, and then Oz says something about 10-1 still aren't good odds or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's when Vampire Willow walks in, and Oz, like,
Oz went full mast. I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says.
well, not only that, but he also went like Oz was immediately like, I'm the fucking captain now. And he ordered, no two ways about it. This was a direct order to our boy Angel. Yep. He says, go get Buffy now.
Yep. And then you see Angel climbing up the wall, and... Yeah.
And I was like, I got choked up. I'm not going to lie. I was like, damn, Oz.
Damn, Oz!
Damn, Daddy! Daddy Oz! Give me orders!
Oh, shit.
So I can disobey him and you can spank me? Yeah, so,
Angel fucks off to go get
Buffy. So Angel fucks off to go get Buffy. Vampire Willow kills a girl. Her name's Sandy. She uses her as an example to everyone else. She's like, she basically tells everyone, if everyone behaves and does what they're told, we'll make them beautiful and young forever. And she's like, and if they don't, and then she fucking licks Sandy's neck.
And that's when I got chubbed up.
and then drains her. She bites her.
I wish she would drain me. What? Sorry. I don't know where that came from.
Me too.
We're canceled again.
So, and Oz is like, you don't want to do this, yada yada. It's obviously thinking it's Willow, and Anya realizes what's transpired, and so when Oz tells Vampire Willow, like, yo, you don't want to do this, Vampire Willow confronts Oz, and she's like, I know you're a white hat, but why are you talking to me like we're friends, yada yada. And that's when Anya steps in. She kind of realizes what's happened, and she explains to Vampire Willow and Oz, he thinks you're the Willow from this world, but you're not, are you? You want to get back to your world, so do I, yada yada, blah blah blah. And then we cut to...
And tells her basically what they need to do, which is get the other Willow.
Right. She's like, I know someone that can help us.
Right. In other words, force help me do this spell, and everything can go back to...
So then we cut back to the library, and Buffy, Xander, Giles, and Willow are, trying to figure out what's going on. And at that point, a visibly distraught Angel comes in.
Yeah.
And so Willow's kind of standing off to the side, like in Giles's office doorway, and he doesn't see her. And he's like, he hesitates a little bit, but then he kind of just comes out with it, and he's like, Willow's dead. And then he like sees Willow out of the corner of his eye, and he's like, hey, Willow.
Yeah. He's like, oh, hey, Willow.
Yeah. And of course he's confused, and they kind of fill him in, like, we saw the other Vampire Willow at the Bronze earlier, yada yada. And he's like, well, she's there now with a gang of vampires, and they're holding the place hostage. And
she's licking chicks' necks and stuff, and people are getting chubbed. And Buffy's like, "Oh, fuck that! I'm the hot one in this show. Let's go."
So they all start to leave the library to go to the Bronze, and Willow's like, you know, what are we going to do with, the other me and this and that? And there's a little bit of back and forth in the hallway. And then Willow tells them to go ahead, I'll catch up with you. And she heads back into the library, and she reaches over the counter to grab something. And that's when Vampire Willow appears out of seemingly nowhere and grabs her. And what happens then?
Well, she turns her around, snaps her neck, and just drops her into a heap. And the credits roll.
Yeah.
And you're just like, damn, rip fucking Willow, man.
R.I.P. Willis.
But we'll get the new Willow to take her place in the Scooby Gang. That's not such a bad trade-off. I don't
Now
think.
we've got two vampires now.
Right. And one of them is super fucking hot.
Yeah, he is. Wait,
Yeah,
what?
he is. What?
What?
No. So they kind of banter back and forth, the two Willows. And, she kind of gets, our Willow kind of gets manhandled a little bit. And when Vampire Willow realizes that she's not going to cooperate, and she's like, well, fine, I'm going to make you. And so our Willow goes scrambling in on her hands and knees into Giles's office, and Vampire Willow's hot on her heels and comes in, and Willow reaches and grabs something and spins around, and it's that trank gun that they use for if they have to have it for Oz when he's doing his werewolf thing, and shoots her. And she goes, "You bitch," and then thump, she's out. And
Did you remain half chubbed through this scene, or did you get a full chub when you saw Willow manhandling Willow?
Willow manhandling Willow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, full mast.
Gotcha.
No, nothing half. I don't go half for that kind of thing. That's full. That's full on.
Okay.
Yeah. So she shoots her, and she locks her up in the library cage, which is always nice and convenient. Okay, I don't think I notated this right. Did the Scoobs come back at that point to the library?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Here,
Okay.
I'll pick it up for a little bit. So yeah, the Scoobs, Buffy, Angel, Giles, Xander, they all come back to the library, and Vampire Willow's locked up in the book cage, and they're discussing what the plan is and whatnot. And Buffy says that she's got a really bad one. And then we cut to outside the Bronze, and they continue to discuss their plan a little more thoroughly. At which point we see our Willow, show up in Vampire Willow's leather outfit. And I don't know, dude, this is gonna sound so weird. I get that, I get it. It's both Alice and Hannigan, but for some reason, seeing our version of Willow dressed as Vampire Willow was way hotter to me.
Oh, well, I mean, that shows how good of an actress she is, that she's able to play the same character and yet two distinct versions of it, and make them very different, you know?
Right.
And
yeah, I don't know. It was just, there was something about Willow's awkwardness, her Willowness,
yeah,
as you might call it, but in that outfit, and I was just like, this is way hotter than Vampire Willow.
Yeah, it was like that Halloween episode where she dressed in the kind of, what did she call it? The slutty. She had a name. Somebody had a name for it anyway.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but
like a slutty hooker outfit. Yeah, and
Yeah.
she was still all kind of Willow.
We didn't mention that in the scene, like in the library, I think it's right before Angel comes in. They're talking about Vampire Willow, and Buffy makes a comment about how, like, she's like, yeah, like you're not a dominatrix.
Oh yes,
something like that.
Yes, this is the important scene. Yes,
and Buffy's like, at least not that we know of. And Willow goes, yeah, Oz and I play Mistress of Pain every night.
Yeah, and then the scene continues with is it a Buffy or who? Somebody says, well, when a person becomes a vampire,
No. Oh yeah. Well, no. So the scene I'm talking about was actually before that.
Oh, okay.
Was when Angel first came to the library.
Oh, the first time. Yeah, but now and where we are right now.
But now, so yeah, a little bit before where we are now, they're looking at Vampire Willow in the cage, and our Willow is like, she's evil and skanky and maybe a little gay.
She goes, I think she's a little gay. Because she was grabbing her and stuff and licking her.
And Buffy's like, well, just remember that the demon that takes over isn't. What does she say? She says
it's their own. It's who they are. Like, in other words, it's replaces who you are with who they are.
Right. Yeah. Like she says, the vampire isn't, who that person used to be or whatever. And right. Angel's like, well, actually, and then he sees like the kind of look of distress on Willow and Buffy's faces, and he's like, it's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, so a little foreshadowing here.
So now they're at the Bronze. Our Willow shows up in Vampire Willow's outfit, and she goes into the Bronze, or the plan is that she's going to go into the Bronze and try and like defuse the situation and try to get as many vampires from inside the Bronze to come outside so that the gang can kill them.
Right, ambush them and kill them.
And, they're like, well, what's the signal if things go sideways? And Willow's like, the signal is going to be me screaming.
Right.
So then Willow goes into the Bronze, and she's trying to act like Vampire Willow.
Yeah.
I don't know how everybody in there, like, right away wasn't like, no.
Yeah. No. Plus, vampires are supposed to be able to smell humans.
Right.
Very easily, but whatever.
So Anya and the others, Anya and the vampire gang ask if Vampire Willow found Willow, and she says she did, and she killed her. And Anya's like, well, why would you do that? Was our only chance of getting back to, your reality.
Yeah, and she's like, that's literally the exact opposite of the plan that we had. Why would you do that?
Right. So then the head vampire henchman says, since that plan's out, we should just start killing people. And then we cut back to the library, and Vampire Willow wakes up and sees that she's in Willow's clothes and she's locked in the book cage. At which point Cordelia comes in, dressed to the nines.
Which I thought there was going to be a reason given for that. I mean, it literally looks like she's wearing like a dress for like a big dance or something, but guess not, because they never address it. But she's looking as only Cordelia can look, my friend.
Oh, you're right. They don't. She just says, "I happened to stop by for books."
Yeah.
I
can take over.
No, I'm okay. So yeah, she comes in and she's calling for Giles and then Wesley, and she's like, I just happened to stop by for books. And I think the implication, honestly, is like, she's looking for Wesley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why she's dressed like that.
Mm-hmm.
She sees that Willow is locked in the book cage, and she grabs the key to get her out, and Vampire Willow, is like, "Oh, I was in here looking at books, and I accidentally locked myself in." And so Cordelia grabs the key, and she's getting ready to let her out, and she's like, "You know what? I realize we've never had a chance to talk." And then she's like, "What should we talk about?" And then she's like, "Oh, how about the ethics of boyfriend stealing?"
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the Bronze, and Willow's trying to keep the vampires from eating everyone, and trying to keep up the Vampire Willow charade. And Anya finally realizes that it's not Willow, and we cut back to the library, and Cordelia's still going on and on to Willow about Xander, and Vampire Willow is just hanging on the cage, and she's clearly so bored. It's fucking hysterical.
Trying to stick herself.
And she's literally like, in the most bored tone of voice ever, she's like, "I'm sorry. I promise I'll never steal your boyfriend again." And Cordelia's like, "As if you could."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "She did it once, Cordelia."
No, I mean, Cordelia, you are a 10, but Willow can be a 10 too.
So Cordelia finally lets her out of the cage, and Willow vamps out, because obviously, as we know, it's Vamp Willow. And she starts to chase her around the school, and we see Wesley come into the school.
Now, my only problem with that chase is that as she's running and everything, she should have been, taking some clothes off to make it easier to run, is what I mean.
Because her dress is so tight.
Right. I mean,
it's hard to run in a dress like that.
Lose a few garments. That's all I'm saying. I know. We're canceled. I know.
So Wesley comes in, and he hears a scream. It's hysterical. Sometimes I wish we would pull clips, like visual clips, to figure out how to show people, like on the YouTube version of the podcast. He hears the scream, and he drops his briefcase and jumps like a foot in the air. But he goes to investigate, and Cordelia runs into the bathroom, and followed by Vampire Willow. And as Vampire Willow is closing in on Cordelia, Wesley comes out and shoves a cross into her face, and then pulls out a bottle of holy water from inside his inside coat pocket. And Vampire Willow's like, whatever, and she turns and she leaves. And then Cordelia basically swoons over Wesley and asks him what he's doing that night.
Well, don't forget when she touches his shoulder from behind, he lets out a scream like a little girl.
He does. And again jumps and turns around and like shoves the stuff in Cordy's face, and then he's like, "Oh," and there's a brief lamenting moment about, "Oh my gosh, Willow's a vampire," and then Cordelia's like, "So what are you doing tonight?"
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the Bronze, and what's happening there, Jeremy?
Fire. There's a huge, raging fire. I'm talking people are burning, and it's horrific. Anyway, so you talked about how Anya. Did you already talk about how Anya called her out?
Yeah.
Okay. And Willow's like, "Oh yeah, well, could a vampire do this?" And she screams. Did you talk about that?
No, because after Anya first calls Willow out, that's when it cut back to the library scene with Cordy, and then it cuts back, and there's back and forth between Anya and Willow, like what Anya's still like, "No, this isn't the right Willow. This Willow's human." And Willow's like, "No, I'm not. Look at my outfit." And then the head vampire henchman is like, "Oh, she is human. I should have smelled it before."
Yeah.
And
that's when she's like, "Oh yeah, well, could a human do this?" And then she lets out her Willow scream to alert Scoobies. And Anya and the other vampire guy look at each other and they're like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, human could do that. Yeah. And then the door bursts open and here comes backup. And we got a hell of a fight going on. Angel's fighting a couple of them. Buffy's fighting a couple of them.
Speaking of this, I wanted to point it out because it was the first time I've noticed it in the series up till now. Did it look, and I could be wrong, did it look to you like in this scene, David Boreanaz is doing more of his own stunts?
No, not to me, because I kept seeing his stand-in, and I was like, that's so takes me out of it so much. It's so much better once the Angel show starts. He does a lot, and but anyway, so no, you're wrong.
Maybe I am.
No, I'm just saying I didn't notice it. Yeah, so we got a heck of a fight. Buffy's fighting some, Angel's fighting some, Xander and Giles are fighting some, and the two Willows are going at it. Well, our Willow's really just getting manhandled up on the stage, and
first, let's mention briefly, our Willow, like, she socks Anya a good one.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that. At the beginning of the fight, man, our Willow just houses Anya. And she's like, "Ow, ow, ow, pain, but happiness." And, yeah. And, so, yeah, then our two Willows are up on the stage fighting, and then Vampire Willow gets our Willow down, and she's literally just choking her to death. And finally, during the fight, Buffy sees what's going on up there. So she goes running towards there, uses a pull cue to stake one vamp, and then uses it to, takes it and smacks another vamp in the head with it to break it. And she jumps up on the stage and she lifts back and she goes to stake Vampire Willow, and our Willow's like, "Buffy, no!" And Buffy stops an inch from staking Vampire Willow. And, that's the inch. They grab Vampire Willow then and kind of restrain her. And she's like, "This world's no fun. I don't like it here." And our Willow agrees with her.
Yeah, Willow's like, "You noticed that too, huh?"
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think I've mentioned this yet as we've been doing this, and I don't know why, but I absolutely love no-look stakings.
Oh yeah, because she does a no-look stake with the pull cue at one point. She just spins it around. She's like, thunk.
Right.
Yeah, Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I love them.
It's like a no-look pass, man. It's just awesome. So sorry. Our Willow have talked the gang into sending Vampire Willow back to the dimension that she belongs in. And they have agreed. So they're kind of Giles and everybody and Willow, they're going to recreate the spell to open the temporal fold and space-time continuum and send Vampire Willow back hence she came.
Because Willow argues that, here, like, if she stays here, she has to die. But
Right.
if they send her back to her dimension, maybe she has a chance.
Right. And as they're waiting to get the spell prepared and everything, Vampire Willow is standing next to our Xander, and he's like, "So, I was a vampire in your place. Pretty badass, huh?" And she just kind of gives him a look, and he walks away. He's like, "That's right, I was bad." It's like, fuck, Xander. She should have told him. She just said, "Yeah, but you're dead in my world,"
Or really laid on that, like, the she wouldn't realize it was guilt, but like been like, yeah, and we fucked a lot.
Yeah. So they get the spell all set up and everything, and bada bing, they send her back to her dimension, and she reappears right where she disappeared, and is immediately grabbed by that version of Oz and thrown into a stake, and she goes, "Oh fuck," and she's dusted. Yep. So not a lot of she didn't have a lot of chance when she got back to her place, did she? We cut to the next day, and Buffy asks Willow, she's like, "So you want to go out tonight?" And Willow's like, "Nah, I think I just want to stay in, do some homework, some flossing, and die a virgin." And to make up for her double guilt coupons, and that Vampire Willow has accumulated. And then Percy shows up, and he is handing her the outline of the paper, and then he hands her the bibliography of the paper, and he's like, "Listen, if there's anything you need me to do, retype it, blah 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 blah. You just let me know." He's like, I know the paper was on Roosevelt, but I didn't know which Roosevelt, so I just did both.
Yeah, he's like, so I did both, and he hands her both outlines.
Right, and her and Buffy are just sitting there like, what the fuck? And so obviously he doesn't want to feel Willow's wrath again, and so he fucks off, jumps over
he starts to leave, and then he doubles back and puts an apple down on top of the stuff he just gave her.
Yeah. And so he fucks off, and Willow's kind of just shocked, and then Buffy asks her again. She's like, "So, you want to go out tonight?" And Willow's like, "Yeah, what time?" Credits. Yep. And that is the end of our episode.
That is the end of our episode. Let's see. Jump into a little monsterology here. None this week, obviously. The usual vampires, evil doppelgangers. They permeate pretty much every genre of storytelling. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be horror or,
No, it can be pretty much any genre.
It's right. It's happened on Star Trek. The entire mirrorverse.
It's happened on The Simpsons.
Right.
So
fun fact: I've never seen The Simpsons.
All right, everybody, that's been our show this week. I'll be back next week by myself. No.
But yeah, doppelgangers, they're all over all sorts of media, every genre. You're going to find, like you said, The Simpsons have done it. like I pointed out, Star Trek with the Mirrorverse, comedy. Fucking Charles in Charge did it. There was an evil version of Charles on Charles in Charge.
Charge of me, Charles in charge.
So,
all day and all night.
His name was Chaz.
Chaz.
And I don't. He was an evil version of Charles, but he actually wasn't really a doppelganger. He was another version of Charles that emerged when Charles got hit on the head. So I guess that doesn't really count.
No, I'd say that's still doppelganger land, I would say.
Yeah, but yeah.
There should have been a doppelganger buddy in that show who was like really fucking
really
smart.
Smart.
Yeah, like super fucking smart. Yeah. There's literally maybe 4 people who know what the fuck we are talking about right now.
Right. I was literally getting ready to be like, do you know they tried to do like 3 different spin-offs of that show? And I was like, no one even knows what we're talking about, so who the fuck cares?
Nope.
Our body count this week is 6.
Oh.
Our
add
music,
a 9 to that, and you have our favorite number.
96. That's weird.
Yes, my favorite number.
Our music this week, aside from our previously mentioned bronze band, includes Price to Move from the album Styrofoam Archives, released by Tick Magic Records in 1999.
19 motherfucking 99?
19 motherfucking 99. Jeremy.
Yes.
Why don't you give me your final thoughts?
Okay.
And your rating on a scale of 1 to 5. How many evil doppelgangers do you give this episode?
This episode gets. I'm gonna have to be. I'll give it a 3.5. I want to give it a 5 because it's one of my favorite. It's one of my personal favorite episodes. But it's not a 5. I mean, it's just not a 5 episode. So I won't ruin my scale thus. But it's a 3.5. It's a solid 3.5. Even if you don't like the episode, it's still a 3.5 episode. But God, I love this episode. And all joking and kidding aside, I love the character of evil. I think Allison Hannigan does such a good evil character. That it's fun to see her do this from time to time, which we get to see more of, and I just love her, and I love her as that character, that specific evil vampire character. She does a phenomenal job, and I love a lot. There were so many good little quips and one-liners in this episode that you get a lot with when Joss is in charge.
Right.
Not all of them are home runs, but a lot of them in this episode were home runs.
Sure.
And so, and it's a fun episode. There are no glaring like, oh, that was my biggest complaint about the whole episode was the whole discovery of liquor being served at the Bronze. But because other than that, there were no real complaints. But again, it's not one of those. I can't go and say this is a must-see episode. It does serve to kind of. How do I say this? It's laying the groundwork now for a character who's going to become a big part of the show. So that's a thing. That's a thing that makes it good. But yeah, fun episode. 3.5. I'd give it a 5. If we were going on our own personal ratings, this would be a 5 for me. I've just got a soft spot for this episode. I always have. I've seen it a million times, and it always cracks me up every time I watch it. Mm-hmm. So that's all I got to say about that. James.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you tell us what you think of the episode? Mm-hmm. And on a scale of 1 to 5 of dead sexy vampire willows, where do you rate this? Bad.
I am going to give this 3 dead sexy vampire willows. This is another one where it's weird. It's like last week. So it's a 3, but I put it on the list of this is an episode of Buffy that I would show people. Like, it's a must-see episode. And yet it's not a 5 episode. And if you remember, I said the same thing about Consequences last week.
Yeah, that surprised me there too.
So, and I think it made more sense with Consequences, because I think Consequences is kind of like, you do kind of have to see that episode.
Oh yeah, that's in a certain character. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Especially in conjunction with Bad Girls. It's very much a 2-part episode.
Yeah, we agreed that was basically a 2-parter.
Right. But yeah, this week I would definitely put it on my list of must-see episodes, but it's still not a 5. It's only a 3. The cold open, we talked about that when we first started. Like, the cold open felt off to me. It didn't sit right. I felt like Willow wasn't, like I said, I don't feel like Joss had a good handle on writing Willow after the time he had spent away from actually writing an episode. So Willow seemed off in a lot of the episode to me. But outside of that, it's a fun episode. It's the quick witticisms and the one-liners are on point, like you said. It's a funny episode, and I'm much like yourself. Like, I love evil doppelganger.
Oh yeah.
I know it's a trope at this point in television and movies, and like I said before, pretty much all media.
But it's a fun trope, and that's why it's always around.
Right, but there's something about it that, and I think it ties back to something we've talked about before, is I love seeing actors play their character against type.
Yep.
And this is a perfect example, or like Nikki with Xander in The Pack. Like, was The Pack a terrible episode? Yeah, it was an awful episode. Was it fun as hell to see Nikki play Xander as evil?
Yeah.
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 It was fun to see Nikki play Xander evil in The Wish when he was vampire Xander. And
it was fun to see him in the Halloween episode when he was, Army Xander.
Right.
Anytime it's against type, it's just fun.
Right. Because I love to see how actors mesh the character that they've played with the character that they're playing in this instance. Because there's always, if you look at it, there's always semblance of the character that they play on the regular. There is, you can see that in the new character, whether it's evil or whether it's Xander playing Army Man Xander, or Buffy playing debutante Buffy in the Halloween episode, or Buffy playing the hardened, battle worn Buffy in The Wish.
Yep.
And like you said, Allison Hannigan knocks this out of the park. She plays evil Willow so well. But there is still that there's a semblance of the Willow we know in that portrayal. And I think what that semblance is, as funny as it sounds, to a degree, is the innocence and, to a degree, naivete of our Willow still comes through in evil Willow. The how pouty she gets when things aren't going her way, the bored now, just like the this world isn't fun, like the innocence, almost, of our Willow comes through in Evil Willow, and I love that. Like, I love that in this character, and I love when actors do that. And we talk about it frequently, and I'm going to do it again. Some of the best episodes of Highlander are the Dark Quickening episodes when we get to see Evil Duncan, and Adrian Paul knocks it so far out of the park with that. And I think part of what makes that so good is there's semblances of our Duncan, the good Duncan we know and love, in Evil Duncan.
And let's not forget, comes a Horseman in Revelations when we get to see a dark, evil mythos.
Sure.
It's always good to see a character you know and love be something completely fucking off the wall different.
Right.
It's always, whether it works or not, it's still fun to see.
Right. But to relate to that, whether it works or not, I think it works better and it's more enjoyable when that actor can bring some semblance of the character we do see on the regular into that evil portrayal. And that's something, like I said, that the actors that have done it on this show so far have managed to do. It's something Adrian Paul managed to do with Evil Duncan. It's something. What's his name? The guy that played Mythos. Peter Wingfield managed to do, playing evil Mythos, even in flashbacks. He was able to bring parts of the Mythos we know and love, and he's played on the regular, into those versions. And I think that's what really, you're right, it's always fun to see that happen. It's always fun to see actors play their character against type. It's way more enjoyable when you can see semblances of the character we see on the regular and love brought into those other versions of the character. Yep. So yeah, overall, it's a 3. It's a fun episode. It's an enjoyable episode. If I was flipping through channels and saw Buffy was on and it was this episode, I would stay and watch. And like I said before, it does go on my must-see list for people, because
I feel like our must-see lists, I feel like mine is going to be extremely short.
Right.
And people would watch my must-see list and be like, but what? There's a lot and then I feel like yours will be way too much. Like,
it might be.
Like, people will be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're on two totally different ends of this. I don't have enough, and you have way too much filler.
Right. But see, my must-see list is also separate from my episodes I would show people to get them hooked to the show list.
Oh, I thought that okay, because this is an episode I would show people, but this isn't. I don't consider this an episode, a must-see episode.
Oh yeah, I would show people this episode and be like, this is what you're in for. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. But I don't consider it my must-see.
So my must-see list is more of a. It's more of a. I guess. What's the best way to explain it? It's almost like if you've already seen the series through, and you just want to go back and watch like the highlight reel, I guess, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Those are the episodes on my must-see list. And that's what my must-see list is.
For me, the must-see list is for someone who's maybe doesn't know anything about the series. Mm-hmm. Wants to know, but doesn't want to or doesn't have the time to watch every episode from every season.
Sure.
And I need to hit them with the high point, like the important shit. Sure. That's how I make my must-see list.
Okay, and that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah. I guess my must-see would be more comparable to a best of.
Yeah.
Right. Like, again, to reference it, when when Highlander released the Best of Highlander DVD set.
Oh, there were so many missing though.
Right. There were a lot missing, but it was also kind of a comprehensive set. Like if you were going to be like, man, I want to watch Highlander, but I don't really want to rewatch all 6 seasons, this would be the DVD set you would pull out.
Yeah, but anybody who ever said that sentence, I don't want to watch all 6 seasons, should be killed in public.
Okay. Well, so anyway, yeah, it's a 3. It's a 3. It's a fun episode. It's an enjoyable episode. I would put it on my must-see / I want to rewatch Buffy, so I'm going to watch this episode list. I wouldn't I don't know that I would no, I would show it to people to try and hook them. I would, because I think this episode has enough of what makes Buffy Buffy that if you showed it to someone, if they didn't like this episode, you're probably not going to convince them.
Yeah, they're not going to like the show then.
Right.
Yeah.
If they like this episode, then you've got a good chance of getting them to watch the rest of the show.
Right.
So, yeah, that's where I stand.
All right. Well, I'll run through this quickly. BuffyRevisited@gmail.com. That's our email. Hit us up there. Communicate with us. Even cuss us out. It's fine. Or go to BuffyRevisited.com, and that's going to give you links to said email address. It's going to give you a link to our YouTube channel. It's going to give you a link to our OnlyFans, which is nipples. That's a lie. It will also give you a link to...
That's right. Our OnlyFans is Jeremy and James Go Down.
Town. No, it's 2 guys, 1 cup.
Two guys, 1 Buffy verse.
1 Buffy verse. But yeah,
that's what we should have called the podcast.
Oh, what the heck?
What the fuck?
Well, hey, we have another show coming out in a couple of years. Huh? So yeah, we it's easy to in other words, it's easy to communicate with us. Drop a message on a video on YouTube, email us, do it on it, because that will also link you to our Facebook page where you can hit us up there. It's easy to hit us up. Just do so. Just do it. Just do it, as Nike would say. And without getting into it all over again, I'll briefly say, as we've mentioned before, we love it. We love when you hit us up. Yeah. I love to be hit. So.
He does.
What? Okay.
Particularly with a cat of 9 tails. Sometimes a paddle.
Ooh, especially a leather one that's got the little heart cut out in it. Anyway, with all that being said, thank you for joining us this week. We can't wait to talk to you next week, where we will be covering Season 3, Episode 17, Enemies, and this is when shit is starting to get real. And in my opinion, we have 3, 4, we have 5 episodes left in the season, and they are 5 really good fucking, shit is real. Let's just put it that way. So, spoiler alert, hold on to your panties, because shit's getting crazy.
Looking at the episode list, and from what I can remember from the episodes, of the 5 remaining episodes, I think we're going to have multiple 5s.
We're going to have a lot of 5s. Yeah,
we're going to have multiple 5s.
I can tell you that straight up, because this is, like I said, this is shit is getting real, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. And so, with all that being said, I've been one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.